Jaden Ivey was waived by the Chicago Bulls yesterday, citing it was conduct detrimental to the team. We all know why he got waived because of his 40-minute video, so we'll talk about it.
Get the lowdown on one of the most iconic basketball teams in the world. You're listening to Chicago Bulls Nation.
What is going on, Bulls Nation? So Jaden Ivey was acquired by the Chicago Bulls in this year's draft deadline for Kevin Huerter. Initially, when that first happened, I thought that this was a very good trade for the Bulls because Kevin Huerter, he was not going to get re-signed anyway. He was owed like $17 million. He wasn't really playing well for the Bulls. He makes occasional three here and there, but he wasn't the sharpshooter that he was once when he was with the Sacramento Kings. So if we're gonna let him walk, why not take a flyer on a former top prospect on Jaden Ivey? We all knew what happened with Jaden Ivey. He had a horrific injury, and then right after that, rehab, came back, got his knee scoped, and has never looked the same since. But with that being said, the Bulls are not in a hurry to win a championship. So there are, comeback stories out there that maybe this athlete that we're seeing on the screen right now would be available once again for the Bulls. It might take some time, rehab, and what might have you, but there is a certain possibility compared to somebody like Kevin Huerter where he's not going to be, there's no potential, there's no what if with Kevin Huerter. He is the player who he is at this point. With that being said, Jaden Ivey just kind of cost himself a lot of money because he is a free agent this season. And I firmly believe that the Bulls wanted to keep him. Maybe not for the money that he will eventually get. I think I said it on one of my videos that I wanted to retain Jaden Ivey because I'm still intrigued by the prospect. I'm still intrigued by the possibility that whatever he could become, but at a certain price point. Like, I don't want to sign him for the mid-level exception. A little lower than that. More of a IO deal. But he threw it all away, man, because of a 40-minute video. And I didn't see the entire video to judge him for, is it whatever he said, is it a bad, is it good? I'm more concerned not concerned, I'm more into the player where it's kind of alarming for somebody at his age who hasn't really accomplished much yet or any at all. I think he's playing for his rookie contract. Not having the self-awareness that this would cost you your job. You have this privilege to earn millions of dollars to play a game. And whatever we feel about his views, that has nothing to do with that. But you got to be more self-aware that if you are not a star player, there's always freedom of speech. You can say whatever you want. But if you're not a star player like Luka or Ant, if you say certain things, they would get fined. But you would get waived if you're not good enough. And that's exactly what happened to him. And not only just waived. You might be like, yeah, whatever, man. The Bulls is a trash organization anyway. He can play elsewhere, which is true. But is any team going to look at him now and be like, you know what? He's the future. We should sign him. Because now he looks like somebody who's losing it. And to a certain degree, they might be right. Before his live stream, we've seen signs, and maybe Detroit saw the signs because they did opt to get Kevin Huerter for somebody like him. And Detroit is, doing pretty good right now. They're a good organization. They're not stupid. So they might have seen some writing on the wall that Jaden Ivey, to a certain degree, maybe it's the injury, maybe this is not what he envisioned himself, because he was getting like few minutes in Detroit, being a number 4 pick. But the problem is, I don't know if he's self-aware that he wasn't the player that they drafted. He's coming off an injury, and maybe he turned to fate because of that. And then it kind of spiraled out of control that all, real life logic just escaped him. Like I said, there's nothing wrong with having faith, and expressing that. But you got to be more self-aware that might cost you and your family's future. Look at that move by Jaden Ivey. I was really hoping that the Bulls would end up with him, Josh Giddey, Rob Dillingham, and Trey Jones. That's what I was in belief that was going to happen. But now, I guess the question for the Bulls is that since waiving him, now that leaves you with 3 guards. I firmly believe that Simons is out of here. Because I think he's going to get maybe not the contract that he does have right now. I don't think anyone's going to give him that. But the timeline wise, and he's still good, that a contending team would probably opt to get him, Simons. So now this leaves the question for the Bulls. Now you have 1 extra guard that you could fill in. Would you be open to the possibility now of bringing back Colin Sexton, who is playing pretty well for the Bulls this season? I've maintained this. I always like Sexton's game. It's just that we have a logjam on the guard position. But now, with Jaden Ivey being out, is that a possibility? Because Sexton brings the intangibles, right? He might not be the high flyer or somebody with a high upside that Jaden Ivey could be, although that upside could be, nullified if you don't have this athleticism anymore. But Colin Sexton is he's just a dog, man. He is a hustler. He just has something in him that you want in a team. And I maintained this posture a while back, but I was like, okay, but if he's gonna take away minutes from Jaden Ivey or Rob Dillingham, then this Bulls team needs more. They need more talent. But now that he's gone, unless the Bulls are gonna draft a guard, I don't know why they would do that. I don't know. Maybe there's a room for Colin Sexton on the team, but it's just unfortunate, man, because I was looking forward for Jaden Ivey to coming back to the player he was once. I was rooting for him. I still am rooting for him. I hope he still gets a job down the line. He's still a young guy. Looks like a nice young guy as well, who's a bit confused right now on how the world works. In terms of what you could say in the corporate world and what you can't, because the NBA is a corporation. Let's just face it. Not being self-aware that you're not the superstar that you think you are, that they can waive you at any time. I hope the next go around that he does have, he'll have more self-awareness, so maybe he can stay in the league. But thank you for watching. Subscribe to the channel, and I'll see you in the next one.